Hi, Stuart here from lawnmowing101.com. What I'd like to talk to you about today is safety equipment. I know it's not a very sexy subject, but it's something that we've all got to pay attention to. And also at the end of this, I'll tell you a little secret that I do that's helped me get ahead with my business a huge amount. I'll start off with talking about your basic safety equipment. Now, you really do need to look after yourself when you're out there mowing lawns, because if you injure yourself, well, you could be off work for a long, long time. And the thing is that if you're not working, you're not earning money. So you wanna reduce the risk of this happening as much as you possibly can. Now, what you'll need is you'll just need basic safety equipment, like you'll need a pair of earmuffs, you'll need some safety glasses, you'll need steel cap boots, some sunblock, and first aid kit. Now, there's a few other things that you can use that are optional, and I'll run through those as well at the end. But what I'll do now is I'll run through what I use and I'll show you, and if you want any more information you can find that at lawnmowing101.com/safety, or you can click on the link below. So starting off with my earmuffs, this is the earmuffs I use. These are 3M. Now, the thing you've got to pay attention about it with earmuffs is what kind of rating are they, because they can all look the same. You can get a pair of earmuffs that look identical to this that don't have the same rating. So you want to read this label here. You want to make sure that the rating on your earmuffs is above 90 decibels, because to give you an example, if I'm talking to somebody, the spoken word is about 60 decibels. If you hear a plane taking off and that's pretty loud, that's 130 decibels. Now, a mower is 90 decibels on average. So, but anything above 80 decibels can damage your hearing. So, and it doesn't happen. It just happens from the start. You constantly your hearing's declining by a tiny amount every single hour that you're working equipment with the wrong or without earmuffs on. So now the other thing that you need to be aware of is there is a rating called an NRR rating, which is a noise reduction rating. Now this can get a bit confusing because these are 90 decibels, but they could also be 30 NRR rating. So if you're looking at the NRR rating, you wouldn't think these would be good enough. But what that is it's a noise reduction rating. It's not a decibel rating. So these are 90, and if these were 30 NRR, then they'd actually be so the noise I'd hear when I'm wearing these wouldn't be above 60. So when I'm wearing these, things wouldn't sound any louder than the spoken voice. So when you're looking at earmuffs, just be aware that you want something 90 decibels or over, or you want an NRR rating of at least 30. Now the other thing that I use all the time is work boots, of course. Now with these work boots here, what I like to do when I get work boots is I like them to be steel capped, of course. It goes without saying you don't want your toes anywhere near that blade. Now the other thing is you want a fairly decent tread on there so you don't slip. Now some steel caps are actually made for industrial. They're made for walking on concrete, and they're made for chemicals. You don't want those. You want a good grip for grass. Now the other thing is that I suggest that you have a boot, not a shoe, because then you get more ankle support. So if some dog's gone and dug a hole in a lawn that you're mowing and you don't even see it, and you stand in it and accidentally step into the hole and twist your ankle, it won't be so bad if you've got ankle support. It could save you limping for the rest of the day. The other thing is that I avoid laces. I like slip-on boots, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that if you have laces, you'll just get a whole lot of crap inside, and it just gets really, really messy. And the other thing is that your laces can break, and if your laces break, then you can't tighten your boots properly. And with these ones here, they're just elastic, and you just slip them on. So they're really comfortable, really easy to put on and take off. The other thing that you should pay attention to is see the stitching on this. There's very little stitching. Now, I buy boots like this on purpose because the first place it's going to go is on the stitching, because the stitching is usually cotton or something like that, and grass has acid and it actually eats into stitching. So the first place to go on this pair of boots will be around here. And if you have huge amounts of stitching all over your boots, they're just going to the seams are going to go in no time at all. Now, the other thing that you should be looking at is safety glasses. Now, these here are industrial plastic. These are probably the best to get, or you can get the safety glass versions. Now, you don't want to wear sunglasses while you're out mowing lawns, because the problem with sunglasses is they may not have a shatterproof lens. And if you get a stone hit your lens and it breaks, you could be in all sorts of trouble. So you're better off just using, a pair of safety glasses like this, and they're not expensive. They're pretty cheap. Now, I normally throw them away after about 6 months or so, because lenses do get a bit scratched and a bit hard to see. But one thing you should pay attention to is when you're buying these, do see how dark this lens is. Because if you get a totally clear lens, then that's not going to help with UV, and it's not going to help reduce the glare into your eyes. And if you get too dark, then what's going to happen is if you go out on a foggy morning or a wet morning, you're not going to be able to see much at all, and it's going to make weed eating really, really difficult. So this is this pair here is the type that. The shade that suits me, and I find it easiest to work in all kinds of weather with these ones. But I'd suggest that you're probably better off going into a shop and trying these on rather than buying them online, because then you can get an idea of how dark the lens is. Now, the next thing that you probably will need is a first aid kit. Now, with these first aid kits, this one here is just a basic kit. It's just got plasters and eye washes and things like that in it, and it's quite handy to have it there. If you have a bit of a mishap, you can just go and sort it out on the spot, rather than having to go home and sort it out and then back to work again. The other thing is if you have a worker with you, you may be required by law to have something like this in your vehicle, or you may even be required to have something bigger than this. So if you're going to have people out there working, check and find out what size first aid kit you need. This is what they call a vehicle kit. So this is made to go in the glove compartment of a vehicle, and in most places this is fine. So but do check it out before you buy. You don't want to buy the wrong stuff. Now, this here is fairly important too. This is sunscreen. You got to use sunscreen. Yeah, this is 50 plus. Now, if you don't use sunscreen, what can happen is you can actually get a melanoma, which is one of the worst forms of it's a skin cancer. So you want to reduce your chances of getting that, and if you so you really need something about 50 SP plus. Now, in the part of the world where I come from, melanoma is one of the most prolific cancers around, and I think it kills more people here than it does anywhere else in the world. So do carry this in your vehicle, and especially if you have guys out there working, because you don't want them to get a skin cancer and then to say, oh, he didn't supply me any sunblock. If you have this in the vehicle and you just replace it every year because it does have an expiry date, then you'll be covered and they'll be covered. No pun intended. Now, I'll go on to the optional extras. You may have noticed I've got a cap. I'm wearing a cap, and these caps here are great because they've got you've got a place to put a logo, but also they keep the sun out of your eyes, and they also protect your head from getting hit by things like clotheslines and branches and all sorts of things like that. I don't know whether what happens to me is normal or not, but I end up banging my head about once every few months. In fact, I've got a graze on there now. So and if I hadn't have been wearing a cap, you do a lot more damage. You get a little bit more than a graze. You probably end up cutting your head, and then you've got to deal with that. So now the other thing is I like to use gloves. And with gloves, you've got. I just got sick of people talk about green fingers. Green fingers, yeah, that's great, but you don't actually literally want green fingers, and that's what I had when I was out there working 40 hours a day, and I wasn't using gloves. My fingers would turn green, and by the end of the weekend, when they were just starting to clean up again, I'll be back out to work. And then it'll be the same thing again. And I got sick of it, so I buy these. I buy them 5 at a time for $2 a pair, and I chuck them away every month and buy another pair, and it just makes life a lot easier. Now the next thing I'm going to show you, you may not have seen before. This is called a sock protector. Now sock protectors are pretty much readily available where I live, but I know that they're hard to find in some places like Canada or the States. So what a sock protector does is you can put it over your boot, and what it does is it stops all the stones and all the rubbish and everything from going into your boot. I don't know whether you've ever been working and had a stone in your boot. It's really, really annoying, and with this it'll stop it. And so these are really good for lawn mowing. A lot of hikers use them as well to keep their rubbish out of their boots. So if you have a pair of these, I guarantee once you start using them, you won't stop. So if you can't find them where you live, then click on the link below and have a look on my website, and I've actually got a link to somebody that'll ship them to any country in the world. So why not give them a go? Now the other thing that I should just go through a few basic safety tips is one of the things is always wear your safety glasses when you're weed eating. Don't ever, even for a second, do it without it. I know a guy who's lost an eye because he was using a weed eater without safety glasses, and it's really, really sad to think that if he'd been wearing a pair of safety glasses, that wouldn't have happened. Now the other thing is that don't pull your mower backwards. It's this may sound pretty straightforward, but you've got to think about it. It's like working with a chainsaw. You've got a blade there that's doing about 3,000 revs per minute, and you do not want to pull that back over your feet. So if you do need to pull your mower backwards, just be aware of what you're doing and just pay attention. Don't have a lapse of thought, and try and avoid pulling your mower backwards, up a hill or anything like that, because you can run into all sorts of problems. Now, the other thing I'll say before I go is with hearing protection, don't double up. What I mean is don't wear earpods underneath your earmuffs and listen to loud music through your earpods, because if you're listening to loud music, although it's really nice and you can zone out, and there's nothing better than mowing the lawn and listening to a song that you like. Problem is that you can't hear if anybody approaches you. You can't hear if something goes wrong with your mower. Unless it starts vibrating, you won't even know that there's something wrong with your mower if it's making a strange noise. So you really want to hear what's happening around you, so you can be aware of that. And also you want to take your earmuffs off before you drive to the next job too. I've actually seen guys driving from one job to another with earmuffs on, and not only do I think that might be illegal, but it's also not a very good idea, because you can't hear what's going on around you. So don't play loud music while you're working, and take your earmuffs off when you drive from one job to another. Now you're saying, well, I'm going to get extremely bored if I mow lawns and I can't listen to music. Well, this is where I told you that I'm going to tell you something that can help you build your business. Well, this is it. What I do is I listen to audiobooks while I'm mowing lawns. Now, and podcasts. So if you listen to audiobooks and you listen to podcasts and you're listening to someone talking, so it's really, really easy to hear anything that's going on around you. Someone walks up to me, I can hear them coming. If something goes wrong with the mower, I can hear that too. And the added benefit is when I was working full time and working 40, 50 hours a week, I was getting through about 50 audiobooks a year. And imagine if you can get through 50 books a year, and if half the books are self-improvement books or business development books, just imagine what you can learn in that amount of time. And it really, really does help your business. It helped me build my business from 1 vehicle to 5. So that's about all I've got to say for now. If you want to find out more, come to my website. That's lawnmowing101.com, or click on the link below and go out there and have fun mowing lawns. Look after yourself.